All right, this is John Brass from AroundMichigan.com. I'm talking to Rich Powers, who just ran the Chicago Marathon this past Sunday and set a new PR for himself. And I think, what was it, 2:39?
53, 7 seconds under 2:40.
All right, and that was a PR that he broke from, what was it, about 30 years ago?
Yep, 30 years ago in high school. My junior year in high school, I ran 2:40.15 in Boston. And so it was, it's taken 30 years. Yeah, in Boston that year, they didn't rope off the corral, so I had these ladies out there that were ahead of me the first 2 miles. My first 2 miles there were 16 minutes in Boston, and you know how that is like. To miss 2:40 there by 15 seconds, but so I battled back hard there in that race, but to now come back here and run finally 30 years later, it's been a long road back, and I've been working real hard at it the last 5 years. It's been the focus the last 5 years, and Jeff Reiser and I, it's been our goal, and we finally got one under, so it's huge.
Well, not only was it 30 years, but it's quite a few marathons in between too. I mean, like 90-some marathons in between there. But can you tell us a little bit about the race? How'd it go out for you out there in Chicago?
Well, I should have probably gotten there a little bit earlier and gotten a little bit up further close, but and then when I got there, I didn't really try and work my way up too far. I kind of stretched in the corral. So. But yet, even though I was, at least 50 yards back of the starting line, I was still in the first corral. And I think that's a good place for me, because that way and actually it went out fine. I really didn't have to zigzag around too many people, surprisingly enough. So it was a good starting place for me. I did, pass a lot of people. I came in 171st overall. And so it was a good way to work my way up. My first 5K was 19:30, which was 45 seconds slower than my average 5K pace, basically. So I essentially blew 45 seconds there. Plus I had to go to the bathroom, which blew like 20 seconds. So I blew like a minute, but at the same time, probably that slow first 5K, kind of helps you work into it. And taking a quick pit stop out there at 16 miles or wherever it was, that also gives you a little extra breath of air. So you probably can't really, in retrospect, look back, but thankfully I was lucky to get under the 2:40, and the race went out fine. The wind was a little bit out of the northwest, so as you're running out, essentially out toward Lake Shore, there toward the 7 mile mark, you're running a little bit into the wind. I was trying to draft where I could, but at the same time it's pretty well blocked from buildings, because it was more of the wind more out of the northwest. So then you get the wind coming down, at miles 8, 9, 10. I think you're slightly down here. Those are fast miles. I had a nice fast 5K that 5K. And then, it's a pretty big rush, when you get into downtown, and that takes you out through the half marathon. So that's a big rush. So then, to me, the hardest 2 miles on that course are that 14th and 15th miles, when you're running back out to the west, out toward the United Center. And so that's brutal. So, but fortunately, this was like my 4th Chicago in a row, so I know the course. I really felt really good about the course. And I got in, and I drafted off people, and so it really saved me on those. And then you're coming back downwind the next couple miles, so I really let the downwinds leverage the downwinds. Then you're going back out into the wind, so I'm trying to draft off people. And then those last 3 miles, to me, there's always a lot of people hitting the wall right down there by Kaminsky, right down there by where the White Sox played on by 22-23. And so to me, that's as once you can get to that 23-mile mark and start wrapping back north, you're golden. Although, it was going to be into the wind. I think somehow it was sheltered enough from the wind, and I was just, trying to keep rolling at that point, and they had some cliff shots. I hardly ever had a cliff shot in my life, but I took one that day. I was afraid it was going to affect my breathing, but I took one anyway, and that really gave me the energy I think I needed to finish, to get over the hump there. And then coming up, in 20, I knew if I could just get within that 24-mile mark, 25-mile mark, I'm home. And coming up on after the 25-mile mark, I'm thinking that I just got to try and break this, all for my buddies, that want me to get under 240, and Jeff Reiser and Scott Fisk and everybody, and back home. So I was just giving everything I could to try and get under that 240, and fortunately it came together. that going to the 26-mile mark in Chicago, you go up that overpass, and it's pretty tough. But then, you know, I really tried, and then just trying to rip it down the back stretch there to the 26.2 to the finish line. So it all worked out well.
And now you didn't even know really that you had broken 240 then, right? Until the chip time?
Right. I thought...
so it had to be exciting when I saw the chip time,
240.
Right?
I kind of thought I'd had my PR, but I thought I'd missed 240. So when some of my friends were texting me later and telling me I was under, it was so cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know you got Detroit, with New York, and then what is it, Sacramento this year?
Yes. So still have a few more, and you know, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but Sacramento has a favorable course, and if we can get a favorable day there, you never know what could happen. So maybe I can still get one more good one here before the end of the year.
Right. And I know you're approaching your 100th marathon too, so that'll be awesome when you do that. We're looking forward to that, Rich.
Together.
And but again, you know, congratulations on an awesome time out there at Chicago. And I know you had, you know, for a change, pretty awesome weather out there. So
can you believe it? You know, in the last 6 years, I think it's been warm like 4 times.
Right.
So 4 years. So we were lucky to get a cool, perfect day. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to be looking forward to seeing you go under 240 3 more times this year, right?
That would be the dream. We'll see what we can do. We'll give it a shot.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
Thanks a lot, John.